Alright, so today's lesson is 12-1, which is the coordinate plane. So make sure that you watch the video. The video is called Plotting a Point on Ordered Pair. Once you watch that video, you need to make sure you draw this coordinate plane in your composition notebook to get ready for class. Alright, so here's a little bit of vocabulary. Now, we have axes, origin, and quadrants, okay? Now, coordinate plane has one horizontal axis called the x-axis and one vertical axis called the y-axis. Now, just to let you know, this is not a typo. Axes is plural for axis. So that's more than one, and an axis with an I, that's singular, okay? So we have a horizontal axis. The horizontal axis is the x-axis. And that one horizontal, of course, goes that direction. And then we have a vertical axis. Vertical is the y-axis, and of course that one is the one that goes up and down. Now the x-axis and the y-axis intersect at the origin. Now the origin is right here where they intersect, the green and the blue. I'll highlight it in yellow. Right there, that's the origin. Now, the ordered pair that goes along with that is 0, 0. Okay? The ordered pair for the origin is 0, 0. If you look at it, it kind of looks like an owl when you write it. With see the two eyes, the big eyes and the little nose right there? Anyways, the quadrants, okay, let's see here. The coordinate plane is divided into 4 quadrants. We have quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. The top right is quadrant 1. Then we've got quadrant 2 over here, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Now when we're labeling those, we always start at the positive. We should always start with quadrant 1, and we're going to go, that's counterclockwise, okay? And it looks like a C for coordinate plane. So C, coordinate plane, that's the order we go. And we always start in quadrant 1, okay? Now, the points, when we graph these, you'll find that the ordered pairs for the x and the y for quadrant 1 are always going to be positive, comma, positive. For quadrant 2, it's going to be negative, comma, positive. So this is going to be negative, comma, positive. For quadrant 3, it will be negative and then negative. So negative, comma, negative. And then quadrant 4 will be positive, comma, negative. Positive, comma, negative. Okay, make sure you know that information. All right, example 1 is to write ordered pairs. So it says here to write an ordered pair to represent the location of the point D on the coordinate plane. And then we want to identify the quadrant or the axis where it is located. Okay, so we're looking for point D. So point D right there. So to get there, we always start at the origin. Okay? And so we're going to move a certain number of units to the right on the x-axis until we reach the vertical line. Now the vertical line is this one. Okay? It's that one. It's a little crooked, but that's the vertical line. Now, you also have to pay attention to what we're counting by. So here, we've got 1 and 2 here, but you'll see there's a point on the in between. So here, this is 1/2, this is 1, and this is 1.5. So we want to go 1.5 units to the right, and if I'm going to the right, that's going to be positive. It's 1.5 units to the right. Then we want to and that's the x-coordinate. So that's going to be a positive since we went to the right. So that's going to be I'm going to write that in blue. A positive 1.5. And you don't have to write the plus in front. I'm just doing that just to stress that that's a positive. Then we want to move down to where D is. Okay, so we need to figure out how many points or how many units we're moving down. And that's going to be the y-coordinate. So since we're moving down, it's going to be negative. So here, that's 1/2 and 1. So there we are at D. So we moved down 1 unit. We moved down 1 unit, and because we moved down, it's negative. So the coordinate for point D, the y-coordinate for point D is -1. So the ordered pair that represents D is going to come from this point and this point. Okay? So my ordered pair is a positive 1.5, and you can use decimals too. Positive 1.5, comma, don't forget comma, -1. Okay. So now I would like for you to take a minute. You can pause the video and you can do letter B with your table partners. So here we want to write an ordered pair to represent the location of B on the coordinate plane. This is the same coordinate grid that we had on example A. So you don't have to, you can look at the one that you had before. You don't have to draw this one again. So point B is right here. And again, we're going to start at the origin, remembering that we're counting by 1/2, okay? Start at the origin, and we're going to go to the left. Now, if I'm going to the left, that's going to be a negative x value. So we're going 1/2, -1, and then -1.5. So my first coordinate for x value will be -1.5. And I'm okay with you using decimals. You can say -1.5. And then we want to go down again, and because we're going down for the y coordinate, we're going to go, the coordinate's going to be negative. So that's 1/2 and 1, and there we are at B, so that's going to be a -1. And those are your ordered pairs. Now, where is it located? This is located in quadrant 1. Let's see. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So B is in quadrant 4. Q, 4. Don't forget, when we're labeling our quadrants, we use the Q for quadrant, and we're using the Roman numerals. And I believe I forgot to talk about quadrants in example A. So up here, we go back. This is quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here, point D, for example 1A, is in quadrant 4, which is what we have right here. Example 2 is identify points. Okay, so here, in this example, you are given the point on the coordinate plane, and you have to tell us what the ordered pairs are. Okay, that's what we're doing. And remember, your ordered pairs are in the form x, comma, y, where the x tells you the horizontal movement, left and right, and the y tells you the vertical, which is the up and down. So we want to identify the point that is located at -2, 1/2. And then we want to identify the quadrant or the axis that it's located on, or in. So again, we're going to start, we'll put this over here. We're going to start at the origin. So let's start at the origin, which is right here. And the -2, that's the x value. So negative means we're going to move left. So we're going to go left 2 units. So there's 1, 2. And then 1/2, that's a positive, so that means we're going to move up 1/2 a unit, and there's the 1/2, and we end up at R, okay? So what did we do? Let's see. We started at the origin. Because the x-coordinate is negative, we moved left 2 units. So we're moving 2 units left on the x-axis, and then we moved up, because that was positive, we moved up half a unit. So we moved up 1/2 a unit because the y-coordinate was positive, okay? So where is it located? Well, again, if you remember, we start at the quadrant 1 and we go to counterclockwise. So this is 1 and this is 2. So point R is located at -2, 1/2 because the x-coordinate is negative, went to the left, and the y-coordinate is positive, we went up. And it is in the second quadrant. So this is Q2. All right, so take a minute or two. If you're watching the video, just press pause. In the classroom, we are working with our table partners for letter B. Now you can go ahead and you don't have to copy this again. You can just go ahead and plot this point or identify this point from the same graph that we used in A. All right, so we want to identify the point located at 0, -2, and then we want to identify where it is. Is it in a quadrant or is it on an axis? Okay? And when I say axis, I mean, is it on the x-axis or the y-axis? Is it on one of the lines? So we're going to start at the origin, 0, 0. Okay, let me take this C out of the way so it doesn't interfere. So we're going to start at the origin. Let me use a different color. Let's use 4. All right, so we're going to start at the origin. Now, the x-coordinate is 0. So we have x, y. The x-coordinate is 0. That means you're not moving at all. So we just stay right there. We don't move left or right at all, okay? Now the y-coordinate is negative. So that means from where we are there after the x, now we're going to go down 2 units. So here we go down -1, -2, and there we are at point S. So point S is at 0, -2, and where is it located? Well, here's quadrant 1, here's quadrant 2, here's 3, and here's 4. You'll notice it's not in one of the quadrants, it's on a line. So if you ever have a coordinate that has a 0, you know that you're going to be on one of the axes, okay? So that is on which axis is it? Is it x or y? You just have to look. There's x, there's y. So we are on the y-axis. So that's another part of your answer. So this is on the y-axis. There we go. All right, so example 3 is plotting the ordered pairs. Okay, so this, when we say plot, that means where you're going to put a dot on the coordinate plane. Okay, so here we want to plot point N, which is at -1.5, -3.5. Now remember, when we're doing halves, you have to pay attention to what you're counting by. Then we want to identify the quadrant or the axes that it's located. Okay. So again, this is the x value. This is the y value. Okay, x, y. Ordered pairs are always x, y. So example 3 is plot ordered pairs. Now when we say plot ordered pairs, we mean that we're going to put a point on the coordinate plane. Okay? So we want to plot point N, which is -2.5, -3.5. Now remember, they are in the order x, y. Okay? and then we want to identify its location. So we want to start at the origin, which is 0, 0. Remember, that was the one that looks like an owl. Now, because the x-coordinate is negative, that means we're going to move to the left, and we're going to move 2.5 units. So that's -1, -2, and -2.5. So there we are there. Now, because the y-coordinate, -3.5, is negative, we're going to move down. So we're going to move down 3.5 units. So that's 1, 2, 3.5. So here we are, right there. And this is point N. So let's label that N. That is at -2.5, comma, -3.5. And when you look at the quadrants, we're in 1, 1, 2, 3. So we are in quadrant 3. Here. Oh, we have it right there, quadrant 3. Okay. So now you're going to use the same coordinate plane, and you're going to do example 3B. So we're going to graph point M, which is positive 4.5, comma, -1. So again, this is x, comma, y, and we're going to start at the origin. Start at the origin, and because the x-coordinate is positive, we're going to go to the right. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4.5, and then, because the y-coordinate is negative, we're going to move down. So we're going to move down 1 unit, and there we are. So that is point M. Which quadrant is that? That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So here, this is quadrant Q4. Remember, we identify the quadrants using our Roman numerals. All right, so example 4 is plotting ordered pairs again. Now, we'll find out at the end of this what's so different about this, okay? So, we're going to plot point H, which is at positive 3.5, comma 0. Now, always remember, it's always good to write x, comma, y, so you know which one is which, and every time you write it, it'll give you a chance to remember it, okay? So, we want to plot -3.5, comma 0, and then we want to identify its location. So, once again, we're going to start at the origin. Now, we are going to, since the x-coordinate is positive, that means we're going to move to the right, okay? We're going to move to the right. And how many times? We're going to move 3.5 units, okay? So, from here, from the origin, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 1/2, okay? Now, since the y-coordinate, look at that, y-coordinate is 0. So that means that you don't move up or down at all. Okay, so you just stay right there, and that is where we are going to plot this point. That is point H. And then don't forget to label your point. So that's point H. Now, we want to know what's the location. Okay, so let's see. We've got quadrant. And remember, it goes in a C shape for a coordinate plane. Okay, so we've got quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. Is it in a quadrant? No, it's on a line. So if it's on the line, then you decide, is it on X or is it on Y? Well, of course, it's right here on this one, so it is on the X-axis. All right, so now I want you to do example 4B with your table partners. And again, you can just use the same graph. All right, so this time we're going to graph 0, comma, negative 1.5. And then we want to identify the location. So, when we graph, sorry about that, when we graph, when we use a different color, I'll use green, we start at the origin, always start at the origin, and then we look at x comma y. Now, the x is 0, so that means you're not moving left or right at all. You're just staying right there. Then we're going to look at the y. The y is negative, so that means we're going to move down 1.5 units. So there's 1.5 units, and there is our point. So that is, oh, I didn't even name this one. Let's call this J. Let's call this point J. Okay? And, of course, which axis is it? It's not in a quadrant, so now it's going to be on one of these lines. So this is on the y-axis. On the y-axis. Good. All right, so example 5 is an application. It says the table shows the locations for several different places around town. The grid shows the map of the town. Now, each square on the grid represents one city block. Each square on the grid represents one city block. Now, Ben needs to go to the dry cleaner. Go to the dry cleaner. Now, that dry cleaner is 3 blocks west and 5 blocks north from the library. Okay? Where on the grid should he go? So, what do I have to do here? Well, we have to figure out where he's starting from. He's starting at the library. So we're not starting at origin this time. We're starting at the library. So, where is the library? The library is at 0, comma, highlight the library. The library is at 0, comma, negative 3/4. So, let's get the library in green. So 0, comma, negative 3/4. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3. So here is the library. And that's where we're starting from. That's where he is at the start of his day, and now he wants to go to the dry cleaner. So from there, he wants to go 3 blocks west. If you look at the compass rose up here, west is left. So is that going to be positive or negative? Well, let's skip that for now. So we're going to go 5 blocks west. So from the library, we're going to go 3 blocks west. So that's 1, 2, 3. And remember, up here we highlighted that each square on the grid represents 1 block. So we're not counting by ones, we're just counting the squares this time. So we're counting 1, 2, 3 blocks west and 5 blocks north. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now be careful in here because of these numbers. There is a block right here. There's a line right here going across. So there is a line right there underneath or behind those numbers. I just want you to be aware of it, okay? So I'm going to take that line out. Now that you're aware of it, I'll take it out. You don't need to see, you don't have to have that red line. So now that green dot right there, that's where the dry cleaner is. So here, now we're at the dry cleaner. And the question is, what's its location on the coordinate grid? Okay, so how do I get there? Well, you're going to start at the origin. Now, from the origin, to get to the dry cleaner, we had to go to the left. So if I go to the left, then my ordered pair is going to be negative. So our ordered pair is going to be negative. So we put a negative for the ordered pair. Now, what's the number going to be? Well, it's going to be from here, we're going to go 1/2. No, this is 1/2 right here. That's negative 1/2. So this is 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. You see that? And this is 1 over there. So this is going to be 3/4. So this is going to be negative 3/4. Negative 3/4 is our x value. And then we're going to go up 2 blocks. At those blocks, if you're looking at it, we're counting by fourths. This is going to be 1/4, 2/4, and 2/4 is equal to 1/2. So the dry cleaner is going to be at negative 3/4, comma, positive 2/4, which is 1/2. And there is where the dry cleaner is. So now you can work on your homework, which is page 235, 1 through 14 all. And we also have an IXL assignment, which is quadrants, and that is F5T. All right.